Do you want to take your data visualization skills to the next level? Well, stacked bar charts might just be the tool for you. Hey everybody, welcome to the practical place where project management meets real life. My name is Ryan Holguin and I'm a certified project management professional, and I'm going to be walking you through when and how to use a stacked bar chart in Smartsheet. So in my last video, I talked about bar charts. So whether it be a column chart or a horizontal bar chart, and that was to show you kind of side-by-side comparisons or trends within a specific category. And we talked about NFL stats and passing leaders and how it was really easy to see who had the highest number of yards thrown versus the least amount in the categories we were comparing. And today we're going to now talk about a stacked bar chart. The way you can think of a stacked bar chart is you're going to see pieces of a whole. So it's gonna be one bar, and it's gonna show you the distribution of each category within that sum total. So let's say in today's example, we're gonna be talking about points per position on a team. So I'm gonna be looking at the top 5 scoring offenses in the NFL up until week 18 of the season. And so what I wanna do is I want to show you the sum total of the points that team scored, but then I want to break it down by points scored by each position for that team to add up to the sum total. So a stacked bar chart is like a bar chart, but it has layers and it helps you see the distribution of the pieces to make up a whole. Ideally, you should stick to only 5 to 7 categories whenever you're going to be using a chart like a stacked bar chart, and I'm going to be showing you what that looks like here in a second using NFL stats. So it shows you the total for each category, like the points scored for each NFL team, and then you can break it down by position. So how many did a running back score versus a kicker, adding all those up to the sum total for that team. And that's what we're going to look at today. What we're going to talk about today is point distribution for the top 5 scoring NFL teams in the league all the way through week 17 of the NFL season. So as you can see, I have a sheet where I'm going to get my data, and I'm going to tab over to the dashboard to show you visually how a stacked bar chart is going to look. So here's my sheet here. I have the top 5 scoring NFL teams. I have the Detroit Lions, the Bills, the Ravens, Buccaneers, and Commanders. I may not walk through all of these, but this is just to show you how this is supposed to work. So as you can see here, I have a formula that's going to sum the total of all these nested rows under it. So for the Detroit Lions, we have a distribution of 7 different categories. So 7 different positions from running back to offensive tackles, it looks like, that have scored points. So I'm going to take this data and I'm going to show you using a stacked bar chart, the distribution of points per position. All right, so as you can see here, I'm on the dashboard view now, and let's go ahead and add this data. Let's create chart here, go to my data, and I'm going to select the data that I want to present. So I want to make sure I get all the positions and the points associated with each position so that I can then visually display what this looks like. So it's going to default to a column. I'm going to go to stacked bar here. And if you notice, I need to check the switch rows and columns just the way that I have my data laid out in my sheet so that I can get the visualization that I want. Oh, I have it on bar. So I'm gonna go to stacked bar. There you go. And then I'm gonna put my legend. As you know me, I like to put it on the bottom. Let me change my header here. Detroit Lions. Change all my font black. I'm gonna show all my tick marks. That's just what I like to do. Let's get everything to be black. And I believe I showed you last time that I can do this trick here to get rid of this column 2, because I don't want that to be shown. It just doesn't look professional. So I'm going to get rid of that and I'm going to save it. So as you can see, there's one bar, but it's going to be stacked. Obviously it's showing you, actually, let me go back real quick. Legend. All right, I like to make everything black. All right, so here's my stacked bar chart for the Detroit Lions. This shows the point distribution for each position that's scored for the Detroit Lions this season. You see the sum total here is in between, about 530 or something like that total points that this team has scored. But you can see everything stacked makes up the sum total. You can see with the running backs, they make up most of the points here, 168 points, and then you start to go down. And that was based on the way that I organized my data. Let me tab back over. See, I organize it from largest to smallest. So depending on how you organize your data in your sheet is going to pay dividends to how it's going to show up in the chart later. So you want to make sure how you want to visually represent it needs to be organized like that in your sheet, in your metric sheet or your data sheet. So let me go back over. So you can see running backs score the majority, going all the way down. It looks like they might have had a trick play with an offensive tackle at one point. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for all of the teams so that we can start to compare and contrast different tendencies with each team and how they like to score. So let me go ahead and do this real quick. And like my last video, whenever you copy the chart and you paste it, some of the settings that you used on that initial one you copied are saved, but some aren't. So it's kind of wonky the way Smartsheet does it, but it works out. So it goes automatically there. I want to switch my rows and columns, go to a stacked bar, and I think this was the Bills. Let's change that. Everything needs to be black. That's what I like to see. Series. Yeah, that's another tip too. Smartsheet has a few features here. So in the series, you can always show the value, which is pretty helpful. So let's do that here. Whenever you're visualizing data to somebody or you're having a dashboard, typically the audience for that is going to be a leader, a director, somebody like that. So you don't want it to be very difficult for them to interpret what you've put in your dashboard. So the easiest way that you can present it is probably the best way you can do it, in my opinion. That's what I found to be helpful. You don't ever want to, or at least I don't ever want to have to explain what they're looking at. So I have all my data here. As you can see, the tendency is pretty much the same for the Buffalo Bills. The highest scoring position for that offense is going to be the running backs. Let me copy this one now and paste it down here. See, a lot of this has saved. You can see where my numbers here, displaying the values saved for me. Change all of these black. I'm gonna go ahead and make these a little bit smaller so I can fit them all on my screen here. I just save it as a best practice to always save after you do an additional step in the dashboard. One of the best practices I like to do is save my work. You never know, something's gonna happen. A fun fact is that I have a music production degree, and that was one of the tips that I learned in my studying, is just whenever you're working on a project of any kind, you always want to save it. You never want to have the situation where something crashes in the middle of your project and you didn't save your work and it just becomes a disaster for you. So there's a little tip for you. Baltimore Ravens, looks like they like to throw it a lot more. All right, here we go. All right, I got, actually is this the Ravens? No, I think this is the Buccaneers, sorry. All right, lastly, the Commanders, stacked bar, changing my font to black. This is the fun part of making dashboards. It's a lot of repetitive work. So let me try to shrink this if I can. I just want to get everything on my screen if possible. If not, that's okay. May not be able to. That's all right. So as you can see here, I have the top 5 scoring offenses all listed, starting with the Detroit Lions all the way down to the Commanders at number 5. So it all does fit on my screen, which is great. So as you can see, this is just going to show you, like I said, it's going to show you the sum total of the categories that you're measuring, but then the percentages that each category contributes to the total. That's the benefit and the use case for a stacked bar chart. So if I'm just doing a quick glance at all this, I see that the top 2 teams like to use their running backs as the most as far as point distribution goes. Maybe they get a lot of, first and goal on the 2-yard line and they just hammer it home with a running back or something like that. You have the Ravens, their kicker and their running back are pretty much split even, 121 to 120 as far as point distribution goes. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they like to throw the ball, 64 points attributed to the wide receivers there, and then the Washington Commanders with their kickers. So wide receivers, kickers, a lot of this shouldn't be surprising, but it's just it's a helpful example to show you a use case for a stacked bar chart and when to use it. Again, what it's going to do, it's going to help you see the sum total, and then whichever categories you put into that sum total, it's going to show you the distribution or the percentage that each contributes to the total. So if you're ready to take your data presentation skills to the next level, I would encourage you to try to implement a stacked bar chart in your next dashboard. Let me know in the comments below on how you plan to do this. And don't forget to like this video if you found it helpful and hit that subscribe button. Again, my name is Ryan Holguin here with The Practical Place, where project management meets real life.